Okay, the NFL trade deadline is breathing down our necks. Tuesday, November 4th.
Hmm.
And you can just feel that pressure building everywhere.
Absolutely. Teams are weighing their options, seeing who makes the first move.
But we want to focus on Green Bay today. What's really going on inside that building?
Right. And our mission here is to unpack that strategy. We're looking at GM Brian Gutekunst and this tightrope he's walking. Because you, the listener, you've flagged these reports showing a really clear need, right? Especially on defense.
Yeah, big need running smack into his reluctance to spend big on draft picks.
Exactly. It's a classic conflict. We know he's exploring trades. The reports say that, but he's wary, especially after those big August moves.
Let's touch on that quickly. The August trades, what was the impact there? Why does that make him cautious now?
Well, remember, he went out and got Micah Parsons, the edge defender, and Darian Kennard, the lineman. Those were significant moves.
Right, costs some serious draft capital, presumably.
Oh, yeah. Almost certainly high picks involved there. So the thinking now, based on what we're hearing, is he needs to build that capital back up, not spend more of it.
Unless it's for the absolute perfect fit, I guess.
Precisely. That earlier spending spree kind of set the stage for the current caution as the deadline looms.
Okay, so that perfectly frames the problem. If capital is tight, they must be targeting the single biggest weakness, the one spot that could change their whole season. What is it?
It's crystal clear from all the sources. Cornerbacks. It's all about the secondary right now.
The cornerback crave, as we're calling it.
Exactly. The secondary's performance has been, let's say, inconsistent. And adding a solid, proven corner could potentially stabilize that whole defensive unit.
And it's not just Green Bay looking at it. That makes it harder.
No, definitely not. Diana Rossini over at The Athletic, she reported the Packers are making calls, but so are the Colts, the Ravens, maybe others too.
So it's a seller's market for cornerbacks.
Totally. Which, naturally, drives the price up for the exact kind of player Green Bay needs. They're doing their homework, looking at names, but getting a deal done, that's going to be expensive because of the competition.
And they already missed out on one potential target, didn't they? Roger McCreary.
Yeah, that's right. Jeremy Fowler at ESPN mentioned the Packers are interested, a potential landing spot. But McCreary ended up going from the Titans to the Rams.
And what was the cost there?
Just a day 3 pick swap. Relatively cheap, in the grand scheme of things.
So Green Bay either wasn't willing to pay even that, or maybe they just weren't quick enough.
Could be either. But missing out on him, it just highlights how urgent the need is and how fast the more affordable options disappear.
Okay, so the cheaper option is gone. That means they have to look, well, upmarket. Who else have they reportedly kicked the tires on?
Easton Butler over at Packer Report mentioned preliminary calls on some bigger names. Denzel Ward from the Browns, Avante Taylor, Cam Taylor-Britt.
Ah, see, those names tell a different story. Those aren't just depth pieces.
No, definitely not. Those are established guys. Suggests Gutekunst isn't just patching a hole, he's looking for someone who can make a real immediate impact, a difference maker.
Which brings us right back to that internal struggle, that philosophical debate. Let's zero in on Denzel Ward, because his name really seemed to spark some discussion.
It did, and Ward is kind of the perfect example of this whole dilemma.
Tell us about him. He's, what, 28? Still got time left on his deal.
Yeah, 28 years old, proven player, Pro Bowl level talent, and crucially, he has 2.5 years left on his contract with Cleveland.
So not a rental, but expensive.
Exactly. He embodies that high-cost, high-reward calculation Gutekunst is wrestling with. When the GM talks about trading high picks for veterans, Ward is the kind of player profile he means.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks then. The price. What does Gutekunst mean by that double whammy of cost he tries to avoid? Use Ward as the example for us.
Okay, so the price isn't just one thing. It's draft capital and salary cap space. It's complex.
Right.
To get a player like Ward, Green Bay would almost certainly, you're probably looking at giving up a high pick. Maybe their 2024 second rounder, let's say.
Okay, so there's the first hit. Losing a premium draft pick.
That's whammy number one. Future flexibility, gone. But that's only part of it.
And the second part is the contract itself.
Bingo. Whammy number two is taking on his existing deal. Ward's contract carries a pretty hefty cap number, probably north of $15 million a year for those remaining seasons.
So bringing him in eats up significant cap space for the next couple of years.
It does. And that sacrifices financial flexibility down the line. Maybe you need that space to re-sign one of your own young stars who's coming up for a new deal in 25 or 26, a key pass rusher, maybe a receiver.
So paying for Ward today could mean you can't afford to keep player X tomorrow. That makes the reluctance much clearer.
It really does. And it ties right back into that quote from Gutekunst after last season. He basically laid out his philosophy.
Remind us what he said.
He said something like, when you trade a high pick for a veteran player, you're trading a young, really good contract for a player who's proven but probably expensive.
Okay.
So you're giving up a pick in salary cap space. That's the core of his thinking.
It's a very cautious view of the trade deadline, isn't it? I mean, I get the logic, but couldn't you argue it's almost too cautious?
How?
Well, if you genuinely believe you're a Super Bowl contender right now, isn't trading that second rounder and taking on Ward's contract exactly the kind of move you have to make to push yourself over the top?
And that is the fundamental tension, isn't it? Short-term gain versus long-term planning. Gutekunst himself said the decision hinges on whether the target can be a dynamic player that can change your football team.
Okay.
But he immediately followed that up by saying there's not many of those guys out there. So the question becomes, is Denzel Ward that dynamic? Does he clear that incredibly high bar to justify the pick and the future cap commitment?
It's a huge judgment call, but there's also the message it sends, right? If the GM never makes a big deadline move, doesn't that tell the players, the guys in the locker room, that maybe management doesn't fully believe this is the year?
That's a fair point about culture and belief, which makes his actual track record at the deadline even more significant. You mentioned he's fundamentally a seller. What does the history show?
The history is, well, it's pretty stark. Since he became GM in 2018, Brian Gutekunst has never acquired a player at the trade deadline. Never. Not once.
0 times. His entire deadline history is on the selling side.
Wow. Okay, that's more than cautious. That's a definitive pattern.
It is. And look at who he sold. Ty Montgomery, Clinton Dix, Rasul Douglas just last year, Preston Smith. These weren't just dumping players. They were moves designed to get something back, usually draft capital, to maintain that future flexibility.
Let's look at one of those. The Clinton Dix trade back in 2018. That felt like a big deal at the time. What did that signal?
That's a really good example. Clinton Dix was a former first-rounder, a Pro Bowler, a key starter, but he was nearing the end of his rookie deal. Gutekunst traded him midseason to Washington for just a 4th-round pick.
A 4th rounder for a starting safety.
Yeah. The message was clear. We're not going to overpay, even for our own established veterans, if it means compromising our long-term cap health or draft assets, even if it creates a hole right now.
So trading away a starter for a mid-round pick was preferable to potentially paying him big money later.
That seemed to be the calculation. And that history, that specific move, it tells you that even when the need is obvious, like safety was then, like corner is now, his default position is to prioritize the future value of the pick and the cap space over the immediate fix.
Okay, so let's bring it all together for the listener. We have this clear, confirmed, urgent need for a cornerback. The cornerback crave is real.
Undeniable need. Multiple reports confirm it.
But we have a general manager with a very deeply ingrained philosophy against trading high picks for expensive veterans.
Right, that double whammy he avoids.
And that philosophy is backed up by a 5-year track record of only selling at the deadline, never buying.
Exactly. So that's the core tension you need to understand heading into Tuesday's deadline. Gutekunst will explore every avenue. Sure, he has to.
But making a move, especially for a corner, it has to be the absolute right opportunity.
And his definition of the right opportunity seems to be incredibly narrow. It has to be one of those rare, truly dynamic players he mentioned. Someone whose impact is so massive it justifies breaking his own rules about capital and cost.
And finding that player mid-season without overpaying in a competitive market, that's tough.
Extremely tough. So it boils down to this. What gets prioritized? The screaming short-term need at cornerback, or the long-term financial and draft strategy that has been the bedrock of his tenure?
The immediate roster gap versus the established franchise blueprint.
It's not just about winning the next game. It's about how you build a winner long-term, according to his actions.
So here's the final thought for you, the listener, to really chew on this week. Given Gutekunst's history, that unwavering pattern of selling versus this undeniable critical need for a corner, which side wins out before 4 p.m. Eastern on November 4th?
Does caution prevail again? Or does the urgency of the situation, maybe the availability of a player like Denzel Ward, force an uncharacteristic act of aggression? That's the big question.